Let's be real for a second. For most of us, Wall Street feels like this exclusive club. It's this high-stakes game played by experts with fancy degrees and complicated computers, and it feels like the average person is just set up to lose. But what if I told you that whole idea is wrong? The legendary investor Peter Lynch had this radical theory that completely flips that on its head. He believed that you, the regular person, the amateur investor, you actually have a powerful, built-in edge over all those professionals.
See, at its very core, Lynch's philosophy is incredibly simple. Investing isn't about gambling on ticker symbols that wiggle up and down on a screen. It's about understanding the company, the actual, real-world business that's behind the stock.
So how do you find these great companies? Well, you just look around you. Lynch's whole strategy is about using what you already know from your own life, from your job, from your trips to the mall, from what you see happening in your own community.
He actually gave this a name, the amateur advantage. It's this incredible edge you have because you're on the ground, seeing things in real time. You're the one who sees the ridiculously long line at the new coffee shop. You hear your friends buzzing about a new product. And you often spot these trends months or even years before they ever show up on some Wall Street analyst's spreadsheet.
Now, if this all sounds a little too simple to be true, I get it. But let me tell you this incredible, real-world story that Lynch himself absolutely loved to share. It's about the investment club at the St. Agnes School.
And this just perfectly shows the difference in worlds, right? The pros, they're often trapped in their offices, buried under mountains of financial reports, staring at glowing screens all day. They're totally insulated. But the amateurs, we're out in the real world, seeing what's actually selling and what stores are packed.
Okay, so picture this. It's 1990. We're talking about a social studies class full of 7th graders. These kids don't have MBAs. Heck, they don't even have driver's licenses. But their teacher decides, hey, let's test out this Peter Lynch theory, and has them create a stock portfolio.
And their investment strategy? Oh, it was brilliant in its simplicity. They just picked companies they knew and actually liked from their own lives. They wore Nike shoes, they shopped at the Gap and Walmart, they loved Disney movies. It was the invest in what you know strategy in its purest form.
And the result? It was absolutely staggering. This portfolio, picked by a bunch of kids based on what they saw was popular, didn't just do well, it completely crushed the performance of the professional fund managers. It was the ultimate proof that the amateur's edge is very, very real.
But, and this is a big but, Lynch is always quick to point out that just picking a great company is only half the battle. If you really want to succeed, you have to master two completely different things.
He famously said that it's the stomach, not the head, that determines the fate of an investor. Your head is what does the homework and finds a company with a great story, but it's your stomach that has to be strong enough to handle the wild ups and downs of the market without panicking. You have to learn to ignore what he called weekend worrying.
And this is what that worrying feels like. Just look at these headlines from late 1990. It's a constant flood of fear and doom and gloom, all seemingly designed to make you feel like the world is collapsing and you need to sell everything right now.
But here's the reality check. At the time Lynch was writing his book, the market had already been through 40 major corrections just like that one. See, downturns aren't some once-in-a-lifetime disaster. They're a normal, recurring part of investing. As Lynch put it, they're as predictable as a blizzard in Minnesota.
Now just let this one sink in for a moment. This is Peter Lynch, one of the greatest investors of all time, admitting that if he had given in to his fear and sold during those downturns, he would have been wrong 39 out of 40 times. The most important thing was having the stomach to hang on.
Because once you've trained your stomach to handle the ride, that's when you can really start using your amateur advantage to find what Lynch famously called 10-baggers. Those incredible stocks that go up 10 times what you paid for them.
And his method for finding them was so simple. You could do it just by walking through a shopping mall. Step 1, use your eyes. Which stores are packed with people? Step 2, get curious. Ask yourself, why is this place so popular? And step 3, that's your starting point. Now you go home and do the homework to investigate the company's story.
I mean, this is exactly how he found some of his biggest winners. He saw Taco Bell expanding, his daughter dragged him into a busy Gap, he noticed the amazing coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. These weren't hot tips from Wall Street insiders, they were just clues hiding in plain sight for anyone to see.
And it all boils down to one of his most famous and simple principles. If you, as a customer, really like a store or a product, there's a pretty good chance there's a great investment story there too. Okay, but finding that great company, that's just the beginning of the story. Lynch's final and maybe most important piece of advice is that you can't just buy something and forget about it, because stories can change. He warns you, do not buy and forget. I mean, just think about some of the giants of the past, like Sears or IBM. For decades, they seemed totally unbeatable. But their stories soured, and any investor who just bought them and then stopped paying attention was left holding the bag for a very, very long time.
So about every 6 months, you have to do a little checkup, and you need to ask yourself one crucial question for every single stock you own. Is the company's story, the original reason I bought it, still good? Is it still promising?
And reviewing the story isn't complicated. You're just asking, are they still growing? Are they doing what they said they were going to do? Has a tough new competitor shown up? Basically, are the reasons you bought the stock in the first place still true today?
So, really, the big takeaway from all of this is incredibly empowering. You don't need a fancy finance degree or a supercomputer to be a successful investor. Your own experiences, your own community, and your own curiosity, those are your most powerful tools. The best companies are often right under your nose.
You just have to learn to pay attention. So I'll leave you with this question. What great story, what potential 10-bagger have you been overlooking in your own life?